Aloha, hello, welcome, wonderful people. Welcome to another episode of Touchful Podcast. I am so excited for this one. I feel that I want to tell you so many amazing things that have changed my life. I will be talking about self-love today, and this one thing that dramatically, tremendously changed my relationship with myself. But before I start, I just want to give a little side note that it's been very windy for the last 2 days in my Icelandic village, a remote place where I live. And also a couple of days ago we had like a huge snowfall, so it is a little bit surreal to be sitting here at the beginning of April seeing so much snow like I have never seen in my life, and having all these snowstorms and this crazy wind for the second day. So if you hear some sounds, it's my wooden house making some noises, playing with the wind. And it's fun and it's nice and it's still a sweet time, the best time to be recording this episode for you. So, like I said in the previous episode, which was an introduction to this season, I want to play with love in this season. I want to talk about this most beautiful force in the whole universe, which is love. And today I want to talk about this one thing that helped me so much in developing a relationship with myself, in developing a loving relationship with myself. And this one thing is something that is called self-talk. And I've been talking about it a little bit in the last episode of previous season, which was a Q&A questions and one Q&A session. And one of the questions was about self-love. And I kind of touched this topic a little bit there. So if you listened to that previous episode, the last episode of season 2, I will be repeating some things, but I feel that they are it's so worth to say it on and on and on and over again. And of course, I am growing and developing, and my relationship with myself is growing as well. So I feel that each and every time I have something new to say, some more insights, some deeper truth to share with you. This episode was inspired essentially by me scrolling reels on Instagram, and I found this one reel with a quote that caught my eye, and that quote was, "Be mindful of your self-talk. It is a conversation with the universe." I'm gonna say it again because I am in love with that sentence. Be mindful of your self-talk. It is a conversation with the universe. And I saw that quote and I got goosebumps and chills, and immediately I knew that this would be the first thing that I want to talk about in this season. Because I really, truly believe that it changes everything the moment you start to be mindful of how you think about yourself and how you talk about yourself. Because it is so much more than you think. So I want to mention that I will be talking about self-talk from the spiritual perspective today also, but also from a psychological perspective, from scientific perspective, kind of giving you all different perspective to why it is so important, why it is so crucial, to the point that I get really obsessed with how I talk to myself, because it changed my life and it keeps changing my life. So first of all, what is self-talk? So self-talk is this kind of like a constant stream of thoughts that you have within you, particularly about yourself, but very often these are also thoughts about the world, about other people, about your life, about yourself, about your behaviors, about decisions, about all kinds of things. This kind of like endless stream of thoughts. Kind of like this, I sometimes imagine it like humming in the background. And very often we are not even fully aware of this humming in the background that we have. We are not even fully aware of this self-talk, because many people consciously or subconsciously make sure that they don't sit with themselves, that they don't hear their own self-talk. So we sometimes keep numbing ourselves and kind of like making sure that everything else is more loud, it's louder than our self-talk. Because to some people, myself included, when I actually stopped and when I became mindful about my self-talk, then it turned out that I was so cruel to myself in the way I think about myself, in a way I talk to myself, in a way I think about other people, about the world, about what is possible for me and what is impossible for me, about what I deserve and what I don't deserve. When I actually stopped to listen to myself, then it just turned out that it was heartbreaking. The way I was thinking about myself was heartbreaking. And that was the moment when I realized that was the moment of change, when I realized that this had to change. The way I speak to myself needs to change if I want to feel this famous self-love that everybody's pursuing and everybody's talking about. And self-love is not something that happens overnight, and it's not the box to tick. It is not something that you tick, okay, now I love myself. It is a constant process of developing a beautiful, kind, supportive, loving, caring relationship with the most important person in your life, which is yourself. This is self-love. Choosing to love you over and over again, day by day, and deepening that relationship with yourself. And self-talk is such a crucial part of that. It's number one thing. Think about how important it is in a relationship with the other person, how important the words are and the conversations that you have with the other person, how these conversations can bring you closer, or sometimes they can break things because of what somebody said about you. And now take that idea and put it inside, that you have these conversations inside you with yourself, about yourself. And number one is to really be aware of it, that something like this exists. So to make time and make space to hear your own thoughts. I am a little bit tempted to use the word meditation, but again, I don't want to use it. I don't want to overuse it. I know that sometimes some people get scared with the idea of meditation. They're like, I don't know how to meditate. I don't want to meditate. It's boring. I don't know how to do it. I'm not good at it. Da, 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 da. So I don't want to use the word meditation. I like to use the concept of sitting with my human and actually listening to what my human has to say. So you can start with asking yourself these questions and allowing the answers to come, or you can journal, you can write them down, or you can just ask yourself, but make time for it, quiet time, a time without a phone, a time without distractions. Prioritize yourself. If you want a beautiful relationship with yourself, then you need to prioritize yourself. There is literally no other way than that. So we can ask yourself these questions. What do I think about myself? What words would I use to describe myself? What are these thoughts that I have about me, about my life? And this can be a very beautiful process, or it can be a very painful process. But what you are doing is you are bringing it forward. And that is the most important thing. This quote that I got so excited about, that it inspired this whole episode, is be mindful of your self-talk. Be mindful. Become aware of it. Because when you are unaware of something, it is still there. And it runs your life. Your self-talk, the way you think about yourself, about other people, about the world, it runs your life, whether you're aware of it or not. It's just when you are not aware of it, it feels that you are not in control, that somebody else is driving the car that you are in. So ultimately, self-love for me, among many other things, is this journey towards more awareness, expanding consciousness, and becoming truly and radically and lovingly responsible for my life, and seeing that I am the one who holds the steering wheel. And it is my responsibility to check with myself how I speak to myself, what I think about myself. And if this is something that is not supporting me, if this is something that feels cruel, if this is something that feels diminishing, if this is something that feels like it takes my power away, then it is my responsibility to take care of that, to build a beautiful relationship with myself. Because if I want to have a beautiful life, and I, Magdalena, definitely do, then it is number one thing to have a beautiful relationship with yourself, something that we can call self-love. So number one step, become aware of what your talk is. Observe your thoughts. What are you thinking about yourself, especially when you make a mistake, when you feel shy, or when you feel guilty, when you feel anxious, when you feel stressed in these difficult moments. But also when you feel extremely happy or extremely grateful. I'm gonna give you one example. A couple of months ago, at the end of last year, I made one of my biggest dreams come true, and I moved to the countryside, to the Icelandic countryside, to this house, beautiful house where I'm living right now, overlooking the ocean and overlooking the glacier. And that was one of my most beautiful and amazing manifestations. Like, the way I manifested this house, it deserves its own episode. But anyhow, I moved in here, and that was such a huge change. It was so breathtaking. It was so beautiful. I felt so happy and so proud of myself. And yet, for first couple of months, maybe 2 months, maybe even more, every day I had that thought that I don't deserve this, that this is too much, that this must be for somebody else, that I'm not good enough for this, that it must be some mistake, that I am not good enough person to deserve so much beauty, so much joy, so much happiness. And that was, on one hand, such a difficult for me to face this, because I had these persistent thoughts, living in paradise, making my dream come true, crying happy tears every day, and yet having this self-talk every now and then coming back that I don't deserve this, that this is too good, that it cannot be for me, that it must be some sort of mistake, that I am not good enough for this, that I will never ever be able to prove that I am good enough person to have such a beautiful life. And as much as it was difficult for me to feel all this, to face this, to be aware of this self-talk, as much as I so much wanted just to put my fingers in my ears and do like, na 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 na, I don't want to hear you, I don't want to hear this, just please disappear, go go go. It doesn't work with self-talk. It doesn't go. It just runs at the background. And it was my responsibility to change the tape. Whatever you discover about yourself, whatever kind of narration you have about yourself, whatever kind of belief you have about yourself, whatever kind of self-talk you discover about yourself, it is your responsibility to change it if you don't like it. And it's not that you are that now you have to live with it. It's not that I discovered that I had these thoughts about myself that I don't deserve happiness, and then I was like, okay, and now I have to live with these thoughts. It is my responsibility, if I don't like the tape, to just take it out and put another tape and play it and keep playing it on and on and on and over again until my self-talk, this kind of like this humming at the background, until it changes into something that supports me. And I will tell you later on in this episode how I do it, how I practice it, and how I did it. But for now, I wanted to give you this example of how it can look like. And like I said, as much as it was really so difficult to be sitting with this and facing this feeling of inadequacy and not deserving, that was ultimately the best thing that could happen to me. So if you discover your self-talk through some practices that I suggested or through any other way, or maybe you are aware of the diminishing and harming self-talk that you have, celebrate it. Please celebrate it that you discovered it, because now it means that you can replace it, you can do something with it. It's no longer this undercurrent that secretly runs your life, but now you are taking the steering wheel into your own hands and you can do something about it. And it is absolutely doable and it is absolutely possible. You can change the way you think about yourself and you can change the way you talk to yourself, and I am a proof of that. Another thing that I love so much about this quote that I shared with you that just sparked this need in me to talk about self-talk is that this quote says, be mindful of your self-talk. It is a conversation with the universe. It is a conversation with the universe. And that just gives me chills when I think about it. Because it reminds me of two things. Number one thing is that one of my mentors, she would always say, imagine that every thought that you have, every word that you say, that it is a wish. That every thought that you have is a wish. It's a command. How would you speak about yourself, about other people, about your job, about money, about your family, about your dreams? How would you speak if you knew that it is a wish, that your thoughts or your words are like magic spells and they have the power to change the reality? Because they really do. They have the power to change the reality. Your thoughts are the conversation with the universe. And you can take it very spiritually. We can talk about how the law of manifestation works and how vibration works and how our thoughts and our words are vibration and how they change the matrix of our reality. And that is true, and I believe in this very much, and that's how I live my life, and that's how I shape my life. But you can also take it very scientifically, that your thoughts, they literally change the chemistry of your body. So I also like to think that if my self-talk is a conversation with the universe, then the universe is myself, and how the way I talk to myself and the way I think about myself, how it literally and almost immediately changes the chemistry of my body, the biochemical reactions that are happening in my body. And there is a ton of scientific research supporting that. And my favorite go-to person when it comes to this field is Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love how he translates spirituality into the language of science and how he backs up everything with science. And there's so much research done by him and by many, many other amazing researchers showing that your thoughts, they literally change the expression of your genes. They change you as a person. And if your thought is repeated over and over and over again, it becomes a belief. And your belief shapes your reality. My belief, for example, at that time, from this example that I gave you, was that I am unworthy of such happiness. I am unworthy of such beautiful house. I am unworthy of such beautiful life. That was my belief about myself. And that belief didn't appear there, yesterday. Probably I was carrying that belief inside me for decades, and it was shaped, it was like installed in me throughout throughout my life, through various circumstances that were reinforcing that belief, until I believed that I was not worthy of so much happiness, of so much joy, of so much abundance, of such ease, of so much grace, of so much beauty. And like I told you, once you identify the belief, celebrate. Imagine that you are just holding in your hand the key to your freedom, that you can take that belief that is made of thoughts. It is made of thoughts that are being repeated on and on and on and on, hundreds of thousands of times, until they form the belief. Which means that you can form another belief. You can believe in something else about yourself. Nothing is true until you believe in it. I believe that I made an episode about it as well, that the world is what you think it is, and how I'm changing my beliefs and perceptions. Nothing is true until you believe that it is true, and then it becomes true, then it becomes solid. And one more thing that I want to say before I give you some examples and ideas of how I work with my self-talk, how I change my self-talk. One of the things, I remember that I read it somewhere, and it just made such a huge impression on me, was that no thought lives in your mind for free. That your thoughts, they don't occupy your mind for free. I like to think that every thought has a price. Every thought has a certain weight. Every thought has a certain impact. They don't live in our mind for free. And the thought, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve such good life, and another thought, I deserve to have the best, most amazing life. In a way, what I'm trying to say is that in a way it costs the same to think this thought and to think this thought. But the effect that they have on me and my life are completely different. This is a thought, and this is a thought. I don't deserve this, and I deserve this. These are just thoughts, and they take space in my mind, and they don't live in my mind for free. I seriously want you to give this a thought, nomen again, to contemplate on this. Whatever thoughts you have about yourself, about your family, about your ex-wife or ex-husband, about your work, about the world, about money, about economics, about your dreams, about possibilities, anything, about your health, anything. These thoughts, they don't live in your mind for free. You are paying price for them. So the question is, are you investing in your most beautiful life with your thoughts or not? And having said all that, I would like to give you some examples of how I change my self-talk, how I work with this, how I do this. And I can tell you already that it will not be anything spectacular. If you expect some spectacular remedy and some, groundbreaking news, it will not be this. The methods that I'm using and that I will share with you, they are extremely simple and they are kind of almost obvious when you think about it. But the point is not whether they are simple or not, but the point is, first of all, that it works. And second of all, the point is that do you really want to apply it or not? Because these are really, really simple things. Number one, I already told you, you need to become aware of your self-talk. So give yourself a couple of days with utmost curiosity, no shame, no blame, just utmost curiosity, almost as if you were eavesdropping, like almost as if you were listening to somebody else or listening to the radio, and give yourself a couple of days to pay attention to what you are thinking about. What are your thoughts about yourself, about other people, about the world? And you might get surprised occasionally. If you like journaling or if you want to use journaling, then you can use something that I call free writing. So just without thinking much, just allow your pen to write whatever it wants to write. Or you can give yourself a prompt, like a question of what do I think about myself, or who am I, and just see what comes up. And then simply make a decision that if this thought doesn't serve you, if you don't want to pay this price, that you just want to replace it with another thought. And again, I'm gonna give you an example with me discovering this thought that I had, that I don't deserve such a good life. Obviously, when I discovered that thought, I was like, okay, this is not serving me. But that felt so true. Whenever I was visiting that thought, and like very often thoughts are connected with emotion, so there is a thought and it has its own energy load, and there is emotion that has energy load, and very often the thoughts spark emotions. So when I was thinking to myself that I am not worthy of such a great life and such a great house and such beauty and so much joy, of course it would spark all kinds of emotions. So it was difficult, and I'm not saying that this work is easy, but it is ultimately simple. Even if it's not easy, it is simple. That's my ultimate belief about life, by the way, that life might not always be easy, but it ultimately is a very simple process. So when I discovered these thoughts, I was also working a lot with the emotional load and kind of like allowing the emotion of not worthiness and the emotion of fear to go through my body. And I was very much processing the emotions through my body, but that's a little bit of a different process. I was doing them simultaneously, but that's a little bit of a different process, and maybe I will share it some other time. And today I want to focus on what I was doing with the thoughts. And the simplest thing that I was doing is I was just replacing them with different thoughts. So when I had this thought of like, I don't deserve such a good life, I was catching that thought almost as if I wanted to catch, like a spark. And I was replacing it with another dialogue that I deserve to have the best, the most amazing life, that I am a miracle, that I am a good person, that I deserve everything that is best. And sometimes when I really couldn't believe this, because there are moments like this when I really could feel that I was just lying to myself, because the feeling of not deserving was so strong in me that the moment I was starting to talk to myself like I deserve the best life, I was like, I had this instant dialogue in my head: no, that's not true, you don't deserve so much beauty, this must be for somebody else. And then I was like, I deserve it, it's all good, it's all for me, I deserve this. No, that's not true, I don't deserve this. And then that was kind of like endless. So what I started to do, and what often works, and it works for me, is that I started to use you instead of I. So when I had these thoughts of like, I am worthless, I am unworthy of this and that, and then it felt like another voice was coming over, like a reminder, like a gentle voice telling me, you deserve it, it's all good. I know, I can hear you that you feel and you firmly believe that you don't deserve this. It's okay. I can assure you that you deserve this, to have the most beautiful life. You don't need to do anything to prove it. You deserve this, and all is good. And I am with you, and you deserve this. You deserve this and so much more. You deserve all your dreams come true. You deserve to have the most amazing life. You deserve all the money, all the friends, all the love, all the people, all the amazing adventures, everything that you want. And I had these kinds of dialogues with myself endlessly. I would write things down. I would literally write them down. And sometimes, depending on how I was feeling, sometimes it was in this first person, so I deserve this and this. And sometimes it was in a second person, as if somebody else was talking to me, as if I was talking to my human. And it felt like this, that I, which was something bigger, that I, which is love, I, which is consciousness, I, which is so much bigger than the human, reminds the human, you are worthy, you are so beautiful, your soul is so beautiful, you are capable of amazing things, your courage is greater than your fear, your heart is beautiful, and the whole world deserves to see your beautiful heart, you shine so beautifully, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And it takes time. I like to think about it like going to the gym. That's the obvious example. But actually the image that appears in my head right now is this, that you have a drop, and it's, drop by drop water dripping and making a hole in the stone, in a rock. Or another beautiful example, I live by the ocean, like I mentioned, and I love to go and see how the ocean massages, how the ocean polishes the rocks to the point that they don't have any sharp edges. And it takes time, but it's inevitable. And it's the same with self-talk. It takes time to change it, but it is inevitable. And I would do it relentlessly. I would do it when I would brush my teeth and I was looking myself in the eyes in the mirror, and I would talk to myself in my head that I am beautiful, that I am worthy of the most amazing life, that I am a good person, that I have a beautiful heart, that I deserve all that is good, I deserve all my dreams coming true, that I am safe. That was also one of my messages, one of the words that I would say to myself, that you are safe, you are protected. That was also the time when my famous phrase was born. Actually, it was born a little bit before that, but that was the time when I was using it a lot, my famous phrase that I am universe's favorite child. You are universe's favorite child, Magdalena. Remember that. You are loved beyond measure. And I really took it seriously. I really took it seriously, and I was not doing it for 5 minutes every other day, but I was doing it a lot and relentlessly. If you want to, you can put an alarm clock in your phone. My beloved, he would laugh at me at some point because I had these alarm clocks going off every like 15 or 20 minutes or every half an hour, depending on how I turn them on. And each time an alarm clock would go off, I would remind myself whatever I was working on with at that time. I would remind myself that life is beautiful, that life is kind to me, that life loves me, that I am wanted, that I am needed, that I am loved, that life is in love with me. Whatever I wanted to remember, I would stop whatever I was doing the moment that alarm clock went off, and I would put my hand on the heart, and I would treat it like a workout. And sometimes it felt very easy and beautiful and flowy, especially when I had a good day, when I was in a good mood. Sometimes it really felt like almost like a mechanical act. Like I couldn't feel at all what I was saying. I couldn't feel the truth in it. But still I would do it. I would keep saying to myself new thoughts, new beliefs. And if you practice meditation, then this is also a beautiful way to kind of like dive a little bit deeper into your subconscious when your mind is relaxed, and you can use your mindfulness practice or meditation practice to quiet down the mind and kind of like to open up the mind, or ultimately on a physical level to change your brain waves from beta to alpha. And that is also a beautiful moment to install new software. It kind of feels like this almost. Just imagine that the software that you have in your mind about yourself, that it is outdated, that maybe at some point it was serving you, but if this software doesn't serve you anymore, you don't need to live with it until the end of your life. You can just install new software. And it takes some time, like when you install new software in your computer, or when you make some actual, like, how do you call it, when you have an app in a phone and it kind of like upgrades to a new version. It takes sometimes a little bit of time. It is a process. But then when it is complete, oh my God, it's a new quality of life. And if you want to ask me how long does it take, how long will it take for me to change my beliefs about myself, to change my self-talk, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I have no idea. Probably a lifetime. But what other option do you have? I mean, probably a lifetime in a sense that probably you will always discover, until the day you die, you will always discover some limiting beliefs about yourself, some limiting thoughts that you would like to change for different thoughts. But with some particular thoughts about yourself, it might take a couple of weeks, it might take a couple of months. I don't know, but what other choice do you have? That is always my question to myself when I start to think, okay, like how long will it take? And then I'm like, Magdalena, it doesn't matter how long will it take. It is about your life. It is about the quality of your life. It is about your relationship with yourself. There is nothing more important in this life. What better things do you have to do than this? Than taking care of the quality of your life and the relationship that you have with yourself. A couple of weeks ago, a miracle happened. I walked into this house where I live. I was in Reykjavik for a couple of days doing lomi lomi for my regular clients. And then I came back here to the West. I walked into my house. I sat on a sofa. I looked at all this beauty. And I didn't, for the first time in 5 months, I didn't have even the slightest hint of a thought that I don't deserve this. And I remember sitting on a sofa and tears falling down my cheeks. And even now when I remember this, I feel that my eyes are getting wet, because it was such a relief, and it still is, to wake up without that thought and without the feeling connected to that thought. To wake up every day without this heaviness in my chest that I don't deserve this, that I don't deserve such a good life. To wake up without this feeling, it is worth everything. So think about some belief that you have about yourself, something that you don't deserve, something that maybe you feel that you are not good at something, you feel that you are not capable of something, that you are not worthy of success, or that you will never be happy, or that you are unlovable, or whatever it is. How would it be to live your life without this? How would your life look like without this thought, without this belief, without this perception of yourself? And if you feel that your life would be better without it, then there is bad news and good news. I will start with the bad news. Nobody will come and take it away from you. I remember the first moment in my life when I realized that nobody will come and save me. Nobody will come and save me from myself. And that is bad news. But the good news is that you are perfectly capable. I promise to you, whatever you feel right now, wherever you are with your life, you are so perfectly capable of doing this for yourself, of saving yourself. And yes, sometimes it means asking people for help. Sometimes it means professional help like therapy. Sometimes it can mean all kinds of things. But you are the one taking that decision, making that choice, because it is your life and it is your relationship with yourself. And there is nothing more important than this. What better things you have to do in your life than making sure that the relationship with yourself is the most beautiful and the most fulfilling? And to me, the moment I discovered this, the power of self-talk and how it dramatically changes the quality of my life, and how I can choose what I think about myself and what I think about others. The moment I discovered it, on one hand, it felt super scary because it feels like all responsibility is on me, but it also felt and feels super empowering, that I get so excited about getting to know myself better. That's why I wake up at 5:30 every morning and I start my day with all kinds of different practices and meditation and journaling and this and that, to get to know myself better, because to me there is nothing more interesting and nothing more exciting in this world than this work. Making sure that I live the most beautiful life that I can. And yes, I still have so much self-doubt about myself and thoughts that I feel that are heavy. And each time I discover them, I celebrate, because I know that I can change them. I know that I can choose something else, because I want to remember that my self-talk is a sacred way of conversation with myself, conversation with the universe, conversation with God, if you want to put it. So give it a try. If anything of what I shared in today's episode, if anything at all sparks any kind of interest in you, give it a try and see what happens and see what changes. Practice talking to yourself out loud if you can, reminding yourself, what do you want to think about yourself? What do you want to believe in about yourself? Practice writing things down. I have a special journal I journal a lot, and I almost never read it. I just write things down. But again, I like to think that whatever I put in my journal is like making a wish. It's like writing a letter to God. So I want to make sure that whatever I put there is beautiful and supportive and supports me in my most beautiful life. And one last thing that I feel that I so much want to mention, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I want to elaborate on it for 2 more minutes. Changing your self-talk doesn't mean that you are lying to yourself. It doesn't mean that you need to lie to yourself until you believe in it. It's not fake it till you make it. Though sometimes this works, and it also in some cases worked for me. But especially for somebody with such a strong mind like mine, and kind of like this witty and intelligent mind, it really doesn't work for me to simply lie to myself about something until I believe in it. So the way I always work with my self-talk is that I try to find such phrases that my mind is ready to accept. And one of these phrases that I shared with you was this, that you are universe's favorite child. I remember when this phrase came to me, it was so ridiculous in a way to my mind that it just like, it didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah, I'm universe's favorite child. She loves me. And it started as a joke. It started as a total joke in a conversation between me and my beloved. I said it as a total joke, and then I was like, hey, yeah, I'm actually universe's favorite child. I'm just gonna work with that. I'm gonna keep reminding myself that. Or if I am stressed about something, if I am afraid of something, it doesn't mean that my self-talk should be that I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. Because I am afraid. But I can remind myself that it's okay to be afraid. And you have courage in your heart, even when you're afraid. Or I can remind myself that my courage is bigger than my fear, and that I am protected, that I am guided, that I am blessed. Whatever makes you feel that the thing that you are saying is not a full-on lie. Because if it's a full-on lie, if it feels to you like a full-on lie, if it sounds to you like a lie, then most likely your mind will completely discard it. So if you feel that you don't love yourself, you don't need to keep repeating to yourself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, for God knows how long, because it will not work. But maybe you can find a phrase that works for you. Maybe a phrase that you are loved. And even if you don't love yourself, you are loved by something so much greater. You deserve all the love. You deserve all the beauty. It kind of feels to me a little bit sometimes, this work with self-talk, like talking to a child. That my mind is like this stubborn child, like, oh, nobody loves me, nobody likes me, nobody wants to play with me. And then comes this, power that is greater than this little mind. And without discarding the mind, without ignoring it, just like you don't want to ignore the way a child feels, but you want to remind the child that you are loved, that I love you, that you are wanted, even if it feels like nobody wants to play with you right now. That life has so much more for you. I feel that I could go on and on and on and on. It's a huge topic. It's a fascinating topic for me. It's a topic that changed my life and keeps changing my life. And every day I keep discovering thoughts about myself that are like, wow, okay, that's what I'm thinking about myself. interesting. And that thought doesn't live in my mind for free. And am I okay with paying the price, or do I want to get rid of that thought? And there was one more thing that I wanted to say. I don't remember right now. Maybe, just another example, my self-talk before recording the podcast. So I always have a moment, I first take some notes, then I always have a moment when I sit, take a couple of breaths before I press record, and I have this little bit of self-talk to myself. I remind myself that I always find the right words. I remind myself that there are people there who want to listen to me. What I want to say is important. What I want to say is meaningful. What I want to say might change somebody's life. And I want to speak with courage. I want to speak with conviction. I want to speak straight from my heart. And I have a little bit of a self-talk like this. And then I press play. And the more you practice it, the more you will start to use it in so many different moments of your life. The moment you become aware of it, and what a powerful tool it is, and how self-talk really determines the quality of your life, you will become so much more aware of it, and you will start using it more mindfully. I still have a feeling that there was something else, one more thing that I wanted to share with you, but for the life of me, I don't remember now what it was. So I think I'm just gonna press pause here. I'm not pressing stop in a metaphorical sense, because I feel that this topic is not complete, that I haven't finished this topic. It's an endless one, and we could go deeper and deeper and deeper with various examples. But my goal for today was to give you a hint, was to give you a little bit of inspiration, and to give myself a little bit of inspiration and reminder of why I do it and how I want to live my life. So I hope that I managed to do that. I hope that I managed to do that. I hope that I managed to inspire you a little bit. If there is anything that you want to share, anything at all that came to you after today's episode, I would be happy to receive an email from you. You have my email address in the description of this podcast. If you find this podcast interesting and you would like to share it with somebody, send them a link. Please do. That is always such an honor and so much help. And thank you so much for spending a moment of your life with me. Thank you for you. And I love you. And I will talk to you soon. Aloha. Bye-bye.